Wedding day shocker. Watch the moment a bride is handcuffed at the altar. What secret crime did this woman commit, and why is her new husband breaking down? The truth will shock you. The 20th season of TLC's long-running reality series Sister Wives has never been short on drama, but the episode that aired on November 16, 2025 delivered two moments so emotionally charged that viewers were left reeling long after the credits rolled. In one storyline, Kody Brown, the once bearded patriarch whose facial hair had become as much a part of his public identity as his plural marriage, shaved it all off in a spontaneous, almost cinematic display of devotion to his fourth and now only remaining wife, Robyn. In another, far heavier segment, the network paid tribute to Janelle Brown's closest friend in Flagstaff, Angela Moody, who had passed away suddenly on October 1 at the age of only 51, closing the episode with a simple black and white photograph and the words, "In memory of Angela Moody." These two events, though completely unrelated on the surface, wove together to create an almost poetic illustration of where the Brown family stands today, one man frantically trying to hold on to the last threads of intimacy in his final marriage by erasing a decades-long trademark from his face, while another woman who had become family to Janelle in the years after the plural structure collapsed was quietly laid to rest, her private battle with opioid addiction revealed only after it had taken her life. Let us begin with the lighter, yet strangely poignant, moment that has dominated social media headlines since the episode aired. Kody Brown, a man who for 15 years on television rarely appeared without a full beard and mustache that gave him the air of a modern-day pioneer, walked into the bathroom of the Flagstaff home he shares with Robyn, picked up a razor, and within minutes emerged looking 20 years younger and, to many viewers, almost unrecognizable. The catalyst for this drastic transformation was not a midlife crisis, not a new modeling contract, not even a dare from one of his teenage children. It was Robyn Brown, sitting on the couch, telling the confession cam with a mixture of embarrassment and honesty that kissing her husband had begun to feel like making out with a Brillo pad. She did not say it cruelly. There was no malice in her voice, only the fatigue, the kind that settles into a marriage after years of bigger, louder fights have already been fought. She missed, she said softly, the feeling of his skin against hers without the prickly barrier that his beard had become. She missed the closeness that a simple kiss used to bring. And Kody, whose love language has always appeared to be grand gestures and immediate action, did not argue, did not negotiate, did not suggest she just get used to it. He simply stood up, walked down the hallway, and began shaving. The cameras followed him, of course. This is reality television, after all. We watched as clumps of dark hair fell into the sink. We heard the buzz of the clippers and then the scrape of the razor. We saw Kody's face slowly emerge, cheekbones more prominent, jawline sharper, the faint lines around his mouth suddenly visible for the first time in decades. And we heard him talking to himself, almost narrating the moment like a man shedding more than just hair. "If this is what she needs," he said, wiping foam from his chin, "then this is what she gets." When he walked back into the living room, Robyn's reaction was immediate and genuine. Her hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filled with tears, and she laughed in disbelief. "You look like you did when we first met," she whispered, reaching out to touch his bare face as though checking that it was real. Kody, clean-shaven and suddenly boyish, pulled her into his arms and promised, with the earnestness of a teenager, that they would make out like we're 16 again. The scene ended with the two of them kissing, softly at first and then with a hunger that felt almost private, as if the cameras had caught something they weren't entirely meant to see. It was, in its own bizarre way, one of the most romantic moments the show has ever aired. And yet it was impossible to watch without a layer of melancholy settling over it. Because while Kody was busy trying to recapture teenage passion with the one wife he has left, the episode made sure to remind us of the three wives who no longer share his last name, and who, it turns out, had very different feelings about facial hair. Brown Woolley, now happily remarried to David Woolley, a man who proudly sports a thick beard of his own, delivered one of the episode's most memorable lines when asked her thoughts on Kody's new look. Smiling mischievously, she quoted an old saying she claimed to have grown up hearing: "Kissing a man without a mustache is like eating an egg without salt." The implication was clear: To Christine, a beard wasn't just acceptable, it was flavorful, essential, the thing that made the whole experience worth having. One could almost hear the subtext: Robyn might want her eggs plain, but Christine had always preferred them seasoned. Meri Brown, who has spent the last several years finding her own voice after decades of quiet longing in a spiritually married but emotionally distant union, was more direct. "I like beards," she said simply, shrugging as if the entire debate was faintly ridiculous. "I think men look better with facial hair. I always have." There was no bitterness in her tone, but there didn't need to be. The contrast spoke for itself. The one wife Kody has left finds his beard repulsive, while the wives he lost apparently found it attractive, or at the very least, irrelevant to their happiness. Janelle Brown, ever the pragmatist, took the most neutral stance. "I honestly don't have a strong opinion about beards one way or the other," she said. Then, with a small, knowing smile, she added, "At this point in my life, I think I'm attracted to pretty much everything that is the opposite of Kody." The studio audience that watches the confessionals live a detail the show rarely acknowledges reportedly erupted in laughter and applause. And so, in one 15-minute segment, Sister Wives managed to encapsulate the entire fractured history of this family. A man willing to erase part of his identity to keep the last wife he has, while the three women who spent decades building a life with him watch from afar, free to speak their minds without fear of repercussions for the first time in their adult lives. Kody's naked face became a metaphor none of the producers could have scripted better if they tried. But the episode was not allowed to end on that strangely bittersweet note. As the final commercial break faded, the screen went black, and a photograph appeared. Angela Moody, smiling warmly, her eyes bright with the kind of kindness that makes a person instantly likable even through a television screen. Below her image, simple white text read, "In memory of Angela Moody. 1974–2025. For viewers who had followed Janelle's journey since the family's move from Utah to Flagstaff, Angela was not just a name. She had become a recurring presence in recent seasons, the friend who showed up with coffee when Janelle was grieving the collapse of her marriage, the one who sat beside her at dinner tables when the kids were grown and the sister wives were scattering, the woman who listened without judgment as Janelle figured out who she was outside a plural marriage. Angela had been there for the quiet moments the cameras usually didn't capture, the late-night phone calls, the tears in parking lots, the slow rebuilding of a life. Janelle's voiceover, recorded after Angela's death, was soft and steady, the way people speak when they are trying very hard not to cry on camera. "Angela was my person here," she said. "When everything fell apart, when I didn't know who I was anymore, she never made me feel like I had to explain. She just showed up. She always showed up." The tribute revealed things many viewers had not known. Angela had left behind a husband, Craig, and 3 children, Nicholas, Taylor, and Isaac. There were 3 grandchildren already, and a 4th on the way. According to her obituary, Angela's greatest gift was making everyone feel like family, a talent that must have been a balm to Janelle during the loneliest years of her separation from the Brown family structure.